So the Xbox podcast happened today, or their business meeting, whatever you want to call it, happened, and it was pretty much a giant nothing burger. We learnt everything that we already knew Xbox was going to do. I guess we know that Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush, at least from what we can guess, will be coming to PlayStation. So I just want to quickly call out an Xbox fanboy that did something really dumb on the reaction of this rumor, but don't get me wrong, Phil Spencer really did make it look worse in his tweet. But all I want to say is, don't you feel stupid for selling your Xbox? You believed that Xbox was going to die because of this business update, and yet we already knew everything that was going to happen. It was not that bad. But somehow you thought it was a good idea by caving into a fucking rumor and selling your Xbox. All because more people get to play your games on the platform of their choice. So we're gonna go take a look at a couple clips that I grabbed from the podcast just to give you an idea of some of the stuff that we'll be talking about before we move on to the PlayStation fanboys, so here you go.
So we made the decision that we're gonna take 4 games to the other consoles, just 4 games, not a change to our kind of fundamental exclusive strategy. We're making these decisions for some specific reasons. We make every decision really with the long-term health of Xbox in mind. And long-term health of Xbox means a growing platform, our games performing, building the best platform for creators, reaching as many players as we can. We're always looking to learn as a leadership team and to grow. And we think this is an interesting point in time for us to use what some of the other platforms have right now to help grow our franchises. So we're going to do that.
So these 4 titles, what are they? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that are building those games have announced plans that are not too far away. As we know, game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements with the partners. So I don't want to take anything away from those teams. So I won't be talking about the titles specifically, but I think when they come out, it'll make sense.
Can we say if either of those titles are Starfield or Indiana Jones?
They are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Well, what was the criteria in how the team was thinking about selecting those 4 titles?
Let me start a little bit outside of that, and then We looked at games that are over a year old, so they've been on Xbox and PC for a while. A couple of the games are community-driven games, new games that kind of first iterations of a franchise that have reached their full potential, I'd say, on Xbox and PC. There's always growth in the future. So 2 of them, kind of community-driven games that will end up on other platforms and give us the ability to continue to invest in them. We think that's great for the business and great for the communities, more players to play with. I'd say 2 of the other games are smaller games that were never really meant to be built as kind of platform exclusives and all the fanfare that goes around that.
So I hope that wasn't too long, but that's pretty much all the important stuff. He also did say that exclusivity was becoming less and less over time, which is genuinely true, that less and less games will be exclusive and will come day and date on pretty much either every platform or just PC. And the last thing we need to quickly take a look at before we really do get into the salt is that Starfield isn't really ruled out as coming to PlayStation at a later date, as you can see in this picture, so pause and take a look if you want to. It's just to give more context to what people are saying in this video, so let's get into the salt. Our first tweet is from the Red Dragon. Phil Spencer says Starfield and Indiana Jones are not a part of the first 4 games releasing on Nintendo and PlayStation by Xbox, but does not rule out the possibility to arrive on PS5. What do you mean by that, Red Dragon? The first 4 games? There are only 4, don't get me wrong. I do believe that Phil Spencer will bring more to these other platforms eventually, but from the way that he is wording it, he doesn't seem too intent on doing that right now. It's not uncommon for Phil Spencer to lie. He has lied about things in the past, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of issues with this. But to say that he's gonna make this a regular trend of bringing Xbox games, especially stuff that is meant to sell his system, to PlayStation like 2 years, maybe a year later, I don't really think is possible right now. But I am more than willing to be proven wrong. And I know a lot of PlayStation fans get really upset when I say this, but it's genuinely true. This PlayStation fanboy Red Dragon is constantly begging for a game like Starfield and Indiana Jones. You may not agree with me, but I'm sure you'll agree with me a little bit later when I show you the next tweet that he said. Our next tweet is from the Red Dragon. Amazing how many Xbox are claiming victory on a day when Phil Spencer is port begging for Helldivers. says, doesn't help anyone to keep exclusives. Exclusives don't help sales. Xbox will port games to PS5. Will not rule out any game coming to PS5 and considering a new Doom and Gears of War. Game Pass revealed to have terrible stats. Abandon iOS plans. Some things never change, but they're gonna learn. Oh, so it's port begging when Phil Spencer says in an article, hey, we want Helldivers on Xbox. And it's a missed opportunity. But when you constantly talk about Starfield and wanting it on PlayStation, it's not port begging. That seems like real cap from everyone in the comment section telling me that it's not begging. Don't get me wrong, if Phil Spencer wants Helldivers on Xbox, he's gotta work for it. Make a deal with PlayStation, offer them Palworld, do something. If you want that game, you're at the head of the company. Or should I say, the Xbox division, I shouldn't say company. You can make that a reality if you so choose, so go fucking do it. Don't sit there and say, we want the game. Go make it a reality. I just find it funny that the Red Dragon immediately accuses someone of port begging because they like a game. Don't get me wrong, he has the power to do stuff, but the moment that someone else does it, he accuses them of port begging, when at the same time, the Red Dragon has constantly, repeatedly asked for these Xbox games on his platform. Don't get me wrong, it is a benefit to have everyone playing on the platform of their choice. But your self-awareness is very lacking, Red Dragon, because if you constantly ask for these games, why are you calling that out when you're not calling yourself up? But then again, I wouldn't expect you to. You probably don't have the actual mental capacity to realize what you're saying half of the time. Our next tweet is from King Thrash, the S-Class gamer himself. There will be a lot of podcasts today, but the round table always lets the dust settle before we speak on it. We have been telling the future for years now, while most of these podcasts have been pretending they knew. The round table, Saturday 2 PM Pacific time. We will have a full breakdown of today's events. RIP Xbox channels, RIP PlayStation Fanboys Salt videos. Join us, bring flowers. Ah yes, because this will mark the end. 4 games going to PlayStation that is more than likely Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, and Sea of Thieves. I couldn't really tell what the last one could be. But that marks the end of PlayStation Fanboy Salt. I knew it all along. This is the end of all the videos I've ever made. It's only Xbox and Nintendo Fanboy Salt from now on. Well, since they believe Xbox won't exist anymore because of this, I guess it's only gonna be Nintendo Salt. If there is one thing that I don't think that will ever disappear for quite some time, it will be PlayStation Fanboy Salt, because regardless of Xbox existing or not, you will continue to talk about them, and eventually, you will just compare yourself to PC, saying that you're either arguably better or comparable to PC when it comes to specs. I do find it funny that you've gone out of your way to say that you wait for the dust to settle when it comes down to news and information around Xbox and PlayStation, when in reality there have been some instances where you've gone out and made quick cope streams over the fact of good or bad news over certain companies. And this isn't just a case with you, King Thrash. Xbox fanboys have done the exact same thing. For example, you have Tim Dog that went out of his way to go on Twitter, make a space, and go cry to people about how this rumor could be the end of Xbox. And on top of trying to say that you can tell the future when it comes to all these things, when usually it's just like every other so-called podcast, just making up a bunch of information or coming to an assumption about a situation. You're nothing special. Our next tweet is from J-Dub. Me and the PlayStation Nation are ready for the Every Screen is an Xbox podcast by the White Flag Razors. Can't wait to get the new fluctuation of Xbox Studio games to embrace my PlayStation 5. Let's go. I just wanted to show you this tweet of J-Dub, and it's like a before and after, so this was before and this is after. I really don't know what I was expecting. Listen to what J-Dub has to say. We get to lie another day. Don't you worry, Phil Spencer does commonly lie, so I won't blame you there. You do actually have some truth. But you set yourself up to fail, J-Dub, by saying, oh look, Xbox is finally gonna die, and then look what happens. You only get 4 games. Don't get me wrong, from what it looks like you're getting 2 pretty good games. I don't know what to say about the other 2, but come on, you could have at least waited until something was said to run your victory laps. That would have been so much better for you, but now you made yourself look like a clown. Unleashed tweeted, Phil Spencer basically said, all our games belong to PlayStation and Nintendo. We'll just start with only 4, so as to not to give our fan base a heart attack. That's clearly what Phil Spencer said. He said, do not set yourself up for an expectation where there are more games coming. Right now, these are the only 4 games that are planned. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely agree with you that more games will come in the future. Of course, Phil Spencer is known for lying in some of these things. He was the same guy that said most of the Xbox games would not come to PC day and date. And look where they are now. But I just find it funny that you're trying to make this narrative that all these Xbox games are coming. Don't get me wrong, it is a very good scenario if it did happen. I would be very happy that people get to play the games that they want wherever they want. But you constantly told yourself about this podcast being the solution that will make that a reality. In reality, it wasn't. It was just 4 fucking games. You know what, since we're at the end of the video and I'm out of PlayStation fanboy salt, and I may save the rest just for an extra video, we're gonna do a quick Xbox fanboy as I genuinely thought his reaction to the information was funny. The Xbox curator tweeted, "This can't be the end of Xbox. You can't betray your fanbase like this. Do not go full third party. You will regret it immediately. You've worked so hard to get where you were at. And we were patient with you. Don't make that mean nothing." And can you guess how he responded after this? After this little podcast that told him everything he wanted to hear? It was pretty funny. This is his biggest takeaway from it. It's that Xbox is keeping Starfield as a Xbox exclusive. Who's gonna tell him that Starfield is on PC and that it's actually a multi-platform? Also, get community noted, idiot. But I think that's pretty much everything I want to cover when it comes to the PlayStation fanboys. But there is more, and maybe I will make a follow-up if you are interested in seeing it, as it's mainly Dreamcast Guy, Reforge Gaming, and MBG, which 2 of them did streams and were very upset during watching this podcast. It was actually pretty funny to watch them just have a little bit of a sook and get over it after a day, and then some of them make up some genuine cope arguments, and then you have Dreamcast Guy just making a quick video that really comes off of some of his wording really fanboyish, but nonetheless, all their reactions were genuinely funny. So I guess that's pretty much it. I don't really want to cover anything else. So you all go take care and enjoy the rest of your day, night, or whatever.